Shir is dedicated to Nishmas Rachalei Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. The folks of Nala asked me to give a shir in honor and Lilu Nishmas, in addition to Rachalei Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi, but also the Fogel family that we all know. Klal Yisrael, about a week before Purim, experienced a tremendous tragedy in the massacre of a mishpacha, and today's shir is dedicated to the mishpacha and perhaps some lessons that we can build on and learn from these kinds of experiences. I was at the Levaya, brought my yeshiva to the Levaya in Yerushalayim, and the one thing that was most striking is obviously very, very crowded, many people, and the one thing that was most striking about being at the Levaya and hearing the words that were said was noting that unfortunately, and we see this all the time, it takes tremendous tragedy in Klal Yisrael of our nation, of our people, in order to bring us together. And at the Levaya, you had Jews of all stripes. You had Jews that were without yarmulkes, with you have Jews with kippot zrugot, with Haredi Jews, with Hasidic Jews. You had Jews of all different stripes, and unfortunately, all too often, it takes bitter tragedy to bring us together. And sometimes the Goyim have to remind us that we are indeed Am Echad, one nation, and unfortunately, perhaps that exactly is the tikkun. Is that sometimes clearly the plague that prevents the Mashiach from coming is our internal problem. That prevents the Mashiach from coming is the fact that we're so divided and we don't use the model of the 12 Shvatim who could have independence yet still work together for a unified whole. Our divisions are real divisions, unfortunately, and sometimes Hashem has to go ahead and remind us that we are one and we have to bond together. And the way to prevent these kinds of tragedies and the ways to go ahead and bring Mashiach and to really bring a true sense of Geula is through being together, working together, is to be ma'achir ourselves, to achieve a real sense of Achdut Yisrael, not Rahman al the opposite. And all too often, these experiences show us how powerful it could be when we are together, but sometimes obviously we're not. And we see this very, very powerfully in Eretz Yisrael. Anyone, those of us who live here, see very, very, openly, whether it's in the politics of the country or in day-to-day life, we see the divisions that plague us. Maybe a little less so in Chutz La'aretz, because again, in Chutz La'aretz, when we live in Chutz La'aretz, so the fact that we're in Gentile societies, the Gentiles on some level facilitate and allow us to bond together. I remember when I was living in Chutz La'aretz, so there was one mikveh in town, and everyone supported the mikveh. It didn't matter what kind of color yarmulke you wore, everyone supported the mikveh. Here in Eretz Yisrael, where every group has its own type of mikveh and so forth, and again, it builds on that division. And we have to be able to be 12 Shvatim who have our uniqueness, have our qualities and our unique features, but can still together understand that every shevet has its place and has its role, and to bond together to form that sense of a unified whole. And again, hearing about the at Levaya, again, there were a group of politicians speaking, and those you can kind of take or leave. They have a more national agenda, but hearing the family speak about this, this special couple and these special children and the hasmad of the children and the chesed and so forth is a tremendously powerful loss. And the tikkun, clearly in my mind, has to be building on a sense of achdus and figuring out ways where we can be ma'achir ourselves to chesed, dafka, to people that perhaps we're not as naturally linked towards. And if we're going to have a real sense of geula, it's through building on Achdus Yisrael. So I wanted to speak a little bit about the idea of Achdus Yisrael, draw on some makoros that help us get insights into Achdus and what Achdus means and how powerful it can be, and it can be as a force for us. And indeed, this time of year, we're standing 2 days after Purim. We're starting. We left the Purim euphoria, and now we're getting into Pesach mode. And after Pesach, we move into Sfiras Omer and Shavuos. And this period of time, which is a period, again, Chazal tell us that the reason we celebrate, and this year we have two Adars, Adar Aleph and Adar Beis. The reason we celebrate Purim on Adar Beis is Lismo Geula LeGeula. We're sitting in a period of time where we're in a period of Geula. Nisan's around the corner. We just finished Purim, and we're celebrating Geulos. But with every single Geula, Geula, there's obviously a precursor to that Geula, which meant there was a tzara. And maschilim begnus, mesayim b'shvach, we go ahead and we always, if there's going to be a Geula, there had to be a Golus. And to go ahead and draw insights in what allowed the Golus to take place and what allows and facilitates the Geula taking place. So this seems to be, again, what we can perhaps derive from the Chagim of Purim, Pesach, Sfiras Omer, and Teshuvos, and I think, again, can draw a very, very significant lesson and yesod on perhaps the lessons that we can pull together in order to bring ourselves out of this very dark gullus that we find ourselves in. We all know that Haman was from Amalek, and we all know the famous gematria that Amalek equals Safek. It creates doubt. Amalek creates doubt, and the definition of doubt means there's period, there's a split. There's two ways of looking at things, and if things are harmonious and unified, you're never going to have Safek. Yes, Safek enters when there is a division. We're told in the Megillah that Haman believes and he describes the Jewish people as an Am